Hello, designers. And this particular series of audio recordings is going to be about different designers and interviews with different designers. Not all of them are graphic designers. In fact, the first one, which is Michael Marriott, is a product and furniture designer. And so this series is just to give you an idea. This is out of this is in the context of ethics and a discussion about sustainability, um, ethics, what's a priority, what's good design, and things like that. So the first example is Michael Marriott. Now, he spent his childhood designing and making things and studied at the London College of Furniture and the Royal College of Art in England before starting his own studio in 1993. Um, that just gives you some context on who he is. So here are the questions. Are designers conflicted about priorities? I remember at college, a designer talking to us about his work. It was what I see as ridiculous, curvy plastic stuff, executive desk sets, luxury goods with a capital L, and a little bit of bling too. At the end of the talk, he closed with an image of the world from outer space saying that this is what really matters. It was gobsmackingly out of kilter with what he'd shown of his work, which was just expensive landfill. I thought it would have been better not to do some of that work than to show slides and talk about the bigger message. So, what makes a design sustainable? I hope that people don't only keep expensive things. I've got this cutlery from IKEA that costs around $25, and it is beautifully simple and stainless steel, really lovely. I'm aware of it every day I use it. I'd like to think that as people live with and get used to this kind of thing, they grow to appreciate and love it regardless of its cost. The craft is important to you? The thing I like most is visiting a factory, seeing what happens and being able to interact with the process and work out how to use it most effectively to get the job done. But sadly, furniture manufacturing is less and less about factories and more about the brand. I'm less interested in what drives a lot of modern commerce. So for me, the fiberglass Ames chair you have over there is so great because it is so determined by understanding how it is made. This quality is part of what makes it sustainable too. The new ones are polyprop and recyclable. Fiberglass is nasty stuff to work with, and you can't recycle it. But I don't think it matters so much when that's already lasted 40 years and will easily last another 40. The new ones will need to be recycled because they are much less robust and will soon become grubby and rough looking. So recycling isn't your only consideration. In the 90s, I remember going to the Design Museum for the launch of the watch derived from the Swiss railway clock. Recycling was getting lots of attention, so the man who headed the company said how the bodies were made out of fiberglass, recycled brass. I thought, shut up, mate. Brass has always been recycled because it's got a scrap value. Like all non-ferrous metals, that was the basis of the rag and bone trade. He belittled the value of the product by making too much of this stuff. This is a complex argument. It's energy inefficient to recycle sometimes. For example, it's very difficult to get a holistic sense of these things. There are life cycle analytic charts of materials and products, but they very rarely look at how this fits into the greater scheme of things. It's a bit like when the government pays a marketing company to prove how good nuclear power is over hydro or electric or solar power. You can make statistics supporting whatever you want. Government should worry less about putting recycled logos on plastic bottles, for example, and more about using less plastic in the first damn place. Packaging is absurd. There's such a stupid amount of plastic, cardboard, everything. Why don't we just look at what they do in Germany or Scandinavia? Why don't we just take a leaf out of their book? Speak to some Dutch people and they're not far away. So let's share some information. How much do you consider these issues when you're designing? A lot. We're just talking about designing another exhibition for the Design Museum, and we're already thinking about reusing the glass from the previous exhibition. Exhibitions are often built to a very high spec, and so there should be some kind of central depository for exhibition fabric. Whether it's the Chelsea Flower Show or the Idea Home Show or some smaller thing at the Crafts Council. After one Crafts Council show I was involved in, they phoned round and asked whether anybody would be interested in the materials that they didn't need anymore. It could have been used in house building, or certainly reused somehow. So, what role do you think the media has? The design media often gives attention to the wrong things. Take, for example, the new piece by Zaher Hadid for Established and Sons. It's a hugely excessive and expensive plastic table. It required a crane to get it into the building when they showed up with it at the Milan Furniture Fair. It wouldn't go up the stairs or in a lift or through the doors. It turned out it wouldn't go through the hole in the roof, so they had to disassemble the roof. It's the kind of thing you see in a Prada store with a couple of cashmere bikinis on it, and it looks completely amazing. So that kind of makes it valid. But if you have to build the architecture around it, it's not really furniture design. It ignores the real requirements of furniture, which are being affordable, easy to produce, and deliverable without a crane and a supersized truck. On one level, it's interesting, it has an impact, and it has a place in the world. A very small place, but that has to do with scales of production. But it can be dangerous because it gets so much press. This is particularly misleading for impressionable students. So, is its value in being groundbreaking? Well, it's a step in another direction. In terms of how furniture design evolves, there were square tables. Then Charles Ames came along and took things in a slightly more organic direction. This is another step on that road. Less plain, super curvaceous. The top's not flat even. Kind of annoying when you want to put a glass of wine down, but groundbreaking, yes. Are artists respected more than designers? I've recently done a couple of projects where I've had more the role of an artist. There were big, empty gallery spaces that I had to fill, and it's been a nice experience. When you're a designer, you're providing a service, not so different to being a plumber or whatever. But actually, an artist is also providing a service. Commercial and public galleries are part of the entertainment industry, you know. You also know that the Barbican Gallery is competing with the Leisure Square Odin and the Selfridges nowadays, isn't it? That said, I did get more freedom and appreciation. The client was open minded. I was commissioned because people were interested to see what I would do. So a free rein and support, as well as to try and achieve something that was discussed as an intellectual thing rather than a purely commercial thing. Is design a misunderstood term? Yes, the language is failing us a bit, isn't it? Don't Eskimos have 11 words for cloud or rain? There should be 11 different words for design. This is becoming more of a problem because marketing people have hijacked the term. Consumers aren't trained in design thinking, so they can't analyze for themselves whether something is a good buy or will be worn out by the next year. They're almost trained to buy on the basis of superficial considerations. Whatever color or shape is deemed fashionable or marketed strongly. As a designer, I gather things too, but not as a consumer. I'm not buying into someone else's marketing thing. I still put things out out of skips or off the street because I'm interested in the form or how it's made or why it looks the way it does. So this comes down to politics. Capitalism is a bit berserk right now, but it's a difficult one because we're all wrapped up in it. Unless you go and live in Wales in a teepee and grow your own vegetables, it's really difficult not to be a part of it. You have to live quite an extreme life to be removed from it. And you could argue that's just avoiding doing something positive to change things. I think you can only make a difference from within. It's important to take part in the discussion. Obviously, the question is, where do you draw the line? There are issues for you as a graphic designer about representing the views of those you don't agree with, for example. Do you preach to the converted and work for a good cause? Or work for more commercial enterprises and try to change things from within? Ultimately, you need to feel comfortable with your own ethical position. So why are you involved in why are you involved in education? I believe very strongly in it as a force for good. I know that's a big statement, but I think that it gives people the means and confidence to think for themselves, to learn to apply logic and rational thought, combined with the empathy to understand the position of others. This dispels the idea that it is only religion that makes people behave well. Design education helps you learn to analyze the situation or problem and initiate changes to make things better. It's great when you see students recognize these simple concepts. What makes it all worthwhile, in an ideal world, this would start at school. Years ago, the Design Council argued that design should be part of the nation's national curriculum. I think it would equip people to deal with life much better if they had a broader understanding of what design could be. Have you ever felt envious of other designers? I did at one point for a couple years. I was anxious that I should be more focused and more determined or ambitious or something and try to get more serious clients. I never really did anything about it because I'm not very good at that. It was kind of niggling me. I was fannying about doing this and that and not really focused enough. Then suddenly, I realized I was really, really lucky to be in the position I'm in. I get to do lots of different things, and I've worked with lots of different people, and that's been a really nice experience. So, are you actually quite happy? Yeah, I am. I feel very lucky to get away with what I do, and I enjoy it so much. I think within my business I'm respected for what I do, but that's not the thing that drives me. It's the fact that I'm happy. I think it gets more difficult to be happy, doesn't it? When I left college, my enthusiasm would override things that it wouldn't now. I'm still happy because I've got a variety of challenging work, so I'm learning. I've never aspired to having a holiday home or a flashy car or anything. I think I'm lucky because little things make me happy. So you can tell that this particular designer is from England, and he has an interesting take on different things having to do with, does quality override recycling, or should they both be considered in the same thing? And to be happy as a designer. So that's the end of the first series, the first in this series. And you guys have a great day. Bye bye.